Hello everybody, it's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research, welcoming my fabulous co-host Liz Miller to episode number 88. Welcome, Liz.
88. Thank you, Holger. It's great to be here. Although you and I now have officially kicked off event silly season, so here is a randomly moving pin on a map to be determined later. But it started, it has begun. We've kicked off 3 months of absolute madness, but we couldn't be happier to be here with you folks. Let's get right into it with the news.
Yeah,
I'm
in Las Vegas, so it's Cloud World going on once a year, Oracle's user conference, and I didn't expect it would happen now. I would expect it would happen at some point. As you know, Oracle's been putting its database into Azure, where it started all, got renewed last year with being available to provision Oracle for the Azure Council. They added Google Cloud in spring, and now, believe it or not, Matt Garman was on stage with Oracle founder Larry Ellison talking about the benefits of running the Oracle database inside of AWS. Now, great news for customers, of course, because it means you can use your trusted transactional mission-critical database in conjunction with the whole AWS stack. I think it's a win-win for customers. Behind the scenes on the database side, it means that the last people who were kind of like saying, we have a better database for transactional applications was AWS, and that is gone. Similar like Microsoft with SQL Server. Google was never in that field, but basically Oracle has won the competition for performance-critical transaction databases. And interesting enough, also big here, the HeatWave database, which also runs on AWS since a long time and is running on Azure as well, has also a low offering MySQL open source based. So two-leg database answer, great progress or great situation from Oracle perspective. Good situation for customers because there's really only one database. Let's hope that Oracle doesn't abuse that position. Otherwise, competitors would come up. Who would never do this? Oracle, right?
What?
No, Oracle would never do this. So good news on the OCI side as well. More latency, smaller instances. Basically, Oracle can put their cloud into any on-premise solution, so it's not like public cloud. And last but not least, SaaS. I mean, massive investment on the SaaS side. It's all going agent-based. Over 50 agents announced. Probably is going to be more. Last year they said 50 AI solutions. It turned out to be 100. The industry stuff is super deep and vertical. It's a really good time to be an Oracle customer. If you're a prospect, you definitely have to look at Oracle across the stack. And I mean, last comment on this, right? Larry Ellison's vision was always build the better IBM or the next IBM of the 20th century. Well, now we're in 21st century, and he basically, I think, has achieved that. But he has something across compute, hardware, compute, networking, missed that already, PaaS, the database, and the software application, and it runs in the multi-cloud. So, I mean, what else would be the IBM of the 21st century? The one place where every company has to stop by for IT. Has the SMB offering on the NetSuite side, there's a small case database side. So fitting all boxes, it's good time on the Oracle side and for Oracle customers.
I think it's why when I see everything they're doing, that it is really smart. It is really methodical, very strategic on both the infrastructure and on the data. On just, the availability and the usability of everything, that, you've got something that is financially sound and secure, which you can't necessarily say for a lot of their competitors. It is one of the reasons why I think I have a heightened expectation that their reworked CX solutions and their strategies around CX, sales, marketing, service, and commerce, if we look at all four of those, I need to see more. Right? If I'm being super honest, I need to see, I'm expecting a whole lot. Maybe not out of this cloud world, but what happens 3 months from now, 4 months from now? What are we going to continue to see coming out of them? They reworked that Fusion platform. We know that they took the best of the best out of all of their acquisitions over the past, 5, 6, 7 years. They got rid of a lot of the advertising nonsense that was really mucking up the gears, right? If we're really being honest about what happens when you try to merge ad tech in with your CX platform, it is never going to be a pretty picture. I think everyone has learned that at this point. But with Oracle, I really have high expectations because of a lot of the work that they've done there. My expectation is that we start to hear a heck of a lot more around what CX leaders who are on OCI, where your IT infrastructure has made this decision. They've moved their databases, they've moved their infrastructure into the cloud. They are now working in this environment where the data is truly available for these business applications. I want to hear more about the wins and the use cases, right? I want to hear more about the connectivity. I want to hear more about the interoperability of all of these suites, of not just Fusion Sales, Fusion Service, Fusion Commerce, and these buckets. I want to hear how these customers are bringing it all together. And so I'm hoping that we hear that through a lot of these industry conversations. I think that the way that they have brought these tools together is really smart. Now it's going to be, at least for CX buyers, this is where the rubber has to meet the road. It can't just be about, well, we have OCI, like we've got this great infrastructure. It's like, okay, great. Now I want to see more. So I think it's going to be a really interesting time. As much as I wish I could be at Cloud World, I am off doing other nefarious things here in New York with the team at Sprinklr. And then I'll be heading up and seeing the folks at Emphasis. And, both are really trying to make strides into that CX space, offering different solutions and offering very different suite and platform offerings with a new AI-driven marketing automation that's coming out of Emphasis. We've got, certainly more connected solutions here at Sprinklr. So it's a very interesting space right now. All of it comes with that magical sparkle pixie dust that's going to solve everything. It's going to cure everything. I don't know if you know about this, Holger. It's called AI.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. It's interesting that we see a lot of activity again from the formerly beaten CRM players at the ERP vendors trying to get back in the game. We saw that SAP at Sapphire as well. Also interesting, like just the minor side, right? So Oracle doesn't talk about HCM, finance, supply chain, purchasing, but sales, service, and marketing are elevated on the same level like HCM, finance, and so on. So at least they're going to give some airtime. I hope that the execution works. On the HCM side, the important thing there is that workforce management, necessary for Cerner, you can't have a EHM solution or workforce management, had to be built. So that means end the partnership with Kronos, aka UKG. And it turns out that healthcare scheduling is so complex that it also works really well for retail, which is also one of the most schedular work.
Exactly. But that's where workforce is getting really interesting. And I think that is where, we talk about it a lot here at Constellation, right? The breakdown of that wall between the technologies and solutions that are required for customer experience and employee experience. And it's not that fluffy middle ground, right? Of like, everyone's happy, so everyone's happy. It's like, no, this is really hard stuff to manage. Managing customer journeys and managing scheduling isn't as easy as dropping 3 blips into a workflow and having the arrow go in the right direction, right? These are really hard things to do with a lot of different systems that have to connect into these tools to make this flow, especially if you want to look at autonomous actions. So when you start to look at something like contact center scheduling, it's not an Excel spreadsheet anymore, kids, right? Like we have to start looking at some of these automated fashions, but we also then have to look at how does that impact everything downstream? So I think we're going to start to see those blend together. We're certainly going to be talking about it more at our Ambient Experience Summit that's going to come up in 2025. So Holger's going to get dragged in kicking and screaming on that one. So how's that for news, everyone? That's like a news flash. Yeah, I feel like that's breaking
one
news.
Takeaway.
We should have one
takeaway from the Oracle side, right? Oracle was pronounced dead more than a few times, right? And I think the lesson learned really there is, as long as a software vendor keeps their customers and the customers don't go away, even if they don't like you, which is exactly the case of Oracle, you may eventually get it right. And then if you're profitable enough, which Oracle was, and you know when to invest. If you look, Oracle put like 30 billion or so into OCI and NVIDIA GPUs, right? I always jokingly say Larry and Safra spent money like drunken sailors on this, but when they saw an opportunity, they had the financial resource to invest, which is the big difference to all the vendors which were relevant in the 90s as well. If you look at IBM, if you look at Cisco, if you look at Dell, all these people, all these vendors didn't have the resources to build their own cloud infrastructure. So that makes Oracle unique now. That's a SaaS vendor which has their own cloud. And coming into the AI area, what could be good about this, right? We can think of lots of things which will fill another video. So that's it from Cloud World from my side.
And I think that this theme and everything that you're talking about here that we're going to start to see in Cloud World, talk about what happens in the next week when we start to head into things like Dreamforce. And you start looking at all the heavy lifting that the folks at Salesforce has had to do over the past couple of years to get their own cloud and get their own platform in order and to create that foundation so they could build these solid business applications on top of it. So you now have a scenario where, okay, what are we going to start to see at Dreamforce? Are we going to start to see what happens when all of this connectivity can happen and all of these agents and this kind of big agentic life that we can now start experiencing within corporations? How does that have to happen? It has to happen because you've collectivized all of the data and all of the infrastructure in that public cloud space and with all that data available. So
the agents are coming, but Salesforce customers have not moved to the public cloud as they could have. So that will be the interesting thing that for me next week at Dreamforce to see what is holding them up, right? At the same time as Workday Rising, right? The bromance between Workday and Salesforce, again, another partnership, same problem there. Build on their own public cloud,
you also have the partnership.
And haven't gone to the public cloud yet. So we
but you have the partnership with Salesforce and AWS. They now are also available in Azure. So I do think that we're going to start to see, we've seen some pre-briefings. We can't talk about them right now, of course, just because they're under NDA until Dreamforce. But I think we are going to see a couple things that are going to start showing why the last several years of building this foundation had to happen. And now there's a reason why. I think for a lot of customers, there wasn't a reason why, because there were just certain clouds that weren't available over there, right? If you can't get everything in one spot, why do you want to tip over the apple cart? So I think we're going to start to see some of those reasons and those reasons to believe. So stay tuned, because I know in our next episode number 89, with Larry and with Martin, they're going to be doing some stuff from Dreamforce. And of course, you're going to probably see a whole lot of us posting from there. You're going to see Holger talking, you'll see me talking. But listen, lots of news is happening. We didn't even get to touch on the fact that Google has officially started their trial, or the DOJ actually has officially started its trial against Google with its antitrust in creating unfair advertising practices and creating an unfair imbalance in the online advertising business. That's going to have a whole lot of fireworks. We're going to have to get big buckets of popcorn. This is not going to be a quick and easy trial. A lot of stuff is going to come out. There's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out about what happens when Google and Facebook try to go do a couple things that they might not be great. So lots of stuff's going to be coming out there. We've also had a big shakeup at SAP. And we're kind of entering into a new era. We've gotten rid of threes and boxes and seen, other board members, but Holger, we're going a little bit over here. We're going to get yelled at by our wonderful producer, Hannah, but let's take a minute. When you look at SAP, of course, it's sad to see folks that we had great relationships with go, but they're all going to move on to other things. We've already seen one board member. We've already seen Scott Russell. Land has been announced as the new CEO of Five9, starting at the, sorry, it's not Five9. I apologize. Nice. Oh my God, Hannah, cut that. We've already seen Scott Russell be announced as the new CEO over at NICE. The big CCAS and contact center leader. So that's a great role for him. It's a great pickup for NICE. It opens up a Rolodex of CIOs that have trusted Scott for decades. So it really brings them into a very, very different posture. So great pickup for them. It's sad to see folks go, but what does this mean for SAP? If you were to kind of crystal ball this and you look at this and say, okay, what this means for the next 6 months, 12 months, what do you see happening with SAP?
Yeah, so we're definitely in the post-Hasso-Plattner era at SAP, right? Some of the board members which are no longer there were very close to him, were pushed by him to be in their position, got their back strengthened by him on multiple occasions. So we'll see how that's going to pan out, how these roles will be filled. What we know for sure, it's the least experienced board at SAP ever since SAP went public, and no board member had public company experience, obviously, right? So there's only three board members, and barely one. The CFO, Dominik Assam, is barely over 1 year, and Thomas Saueressig and Christian Klein are. It's basically on their shoulders to move SAP to S4HANA, convince SAP customers to move there, which is a really, really difficult challenge. Specifically on the platform side with Jürgen Müller-Gunn, Christian Klein always spoke very highly of the platform in his early days before he was even CEO. Much of a difference to Bill McDermott, who I had bets with. He would say platform in the keynote and he wouldn't say it, but fine. That doesn't matter. So history, what's interesting from that, and the platform reports directly to Christian. So we'll see how that changes the dynamics. We're moving more to an SAP board, like at the original founding, where every board member had a development functionality and go-to-market functionality, right? So we have Thomas Saueressig, all the go-to-market part, all the maintenance of the old things, all the customer transformation, and Christian Klein, basically, apart from Mohamed Salam, who has the application side, has a platform and so on. So we'll see. So if a Mohamed, and you know the history of SAP, say, hey, can I be in charge of US sales or Japan sales or whatever? Just to go back to the old traditional 90s. So
I don't know. I think it's a big opportunity, though. Like, I don't, it's always sad to see those phases happen, and you never want to see people go. But I will say, after the momentum that I saw of what they're doing with primarily Grow, right? Primarily some of that motion with that mid-market. I think there are a lot of positive signs that people are kind of understanding where SAP wants their organizations and wants their enterprises to go. They've got the heavy industrial, position. But I will say the interesting thing of this for me are the changes that happened on the supervisory board kind of before all of this happened, because I think that's where a lot of the guidance and that's where a lot of the push for innovation can really come from. You have a lot of folks that are kind of very new to the SAP ecosystem that are potentially going to ask leaders like Christian, leaders like Thomas to say, okay, where are we going next? Where are we pushing next? So I actually think this could be a real opportunity for Christian to really become kind of his own CEO. So I'm kind of excited to see it. Like, I'm not going to lie. I think it's going to be a challenge for him, but I think it's one that he's a little battle tested already for. So I think it could be a good thing. You and I, of course, have had a chance to get some of the inside scoop on some of the tools and solutions that are going to be coming out over the next several months. From the team at SAP.
Right? It's high stakes right now, but it's going to be super interesting to see what generation age-wise CMO and CRO SAP is going to hire. Right? Might they be even younger, or might they get somebody experienced older in there? But it could set up a management team for SAP for the next 20 years, right? But from a consistency, being at Cloud World would be the same like at Oracle. Right? 20 plus years experience on every side, on the database leadership side, on the applications leadership side, right? Only the cloud guy, Clay McGurrick, is a newbie with 6-7 years or something being there, which is completely new, right? It's more tenure than all the new SAP board members have together, right? So, and consistency is very important in this business, right? People build relationships. Software is the business of trust. They have to trust your bits and bytes to what you say. So it's high stakes, a certain amount of risk. I think Christian has the ability to get it right. And we'll see. First thing will be seeing who they get for CMO, CRO. So
okay, well, we're going to have the hook pulled on us by our producer here,
please
folks.
Stop.
But
that's a record.
Please stop from our producer.
You never got that.
She's just going to pop on here and just tell us to be quiet. So, hey, thanks for joining us. We got a couple interviews that are going to be coming up. We're going to talk about some shortlists. We're going to talk about what's happening out there in the world of digital. So stay tuned. We do have a little bit more content for you, but Holger and I could rant all day, but we'll see in a bit.
That's right. Hello everybody, it's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research, here to speak to you about two things which are near and dear to my heart, which are the hard things in HCM and the things which make enterprise move faster. The hard thing in HCM is payroll and workforce management. We're going to speak about workforce management today, and we're going to start about Constellation shortlists. What are Constellation shortlists all about? They are about us looking at a number of vendors in the space, in the workforce management space, about 30 or 40 vendors, which we typically speak at least twice a year. In many cases, like the ones on the shortlist, we go to their conference, we go to their analyst events, we speak to them almost on the monthly level. We help customers to select software and selection processes for their offerings. So we're very intimate, familiar, depending on the frequency and popularity of these solutions. So what is relevant for that is that it helps you as an enterprise, when you listen to us, to accelerate your software selection. And enterprise acceleration is near and dear to my heart. It's my research area. How can companies become faster, move faster, become more agile, accelerate overall, return better shareholder value, create better employee experience, create better customer experience. All these things are crucial part of enterprise accelerations, and shortlists are an important part because you need to select software and be on top of that software. So let's look at the shortlist which we published just in the space about workforce management suites, and let's look about what are the critical capabilities there, selection criteria which we look into. So first of all, everybody has a strong time and attendance management. It's basically the building blocks of any workforce management solution. If you do not have that, then you're not able to run workforce management. It has to be complete, has to be easy to use, has to be mobile, has to be available for all employees and also gig workers. There has to be strong scheduling. That's where the rubber hits the road. If you don't have strong scheduling capabilities in a workforce management product, your managers will struggle, your schedulers will struggle. Not a good position to be in. So this is why it's critical to have strong scheduling capabilities. And at least 3 or more of the following 5 areas: workforce planning and forecasting, compliance management, reporting, payroll interface, because that's where ultimately your employee satisfaction hinges on, and because you're no longer working with just normal employees, strong gig worker support. So additionally, there's geographical and adoption parts. There has to be support for more than 4 continents. It has to be more than 6,500 customers and more than 2.3 million users. And everybody's working on a smartphone in 2024. Everybody is having that in their pockets. Your employees and gig workers do that as well. So very strong mobile platform support is absolutely essential and critical. So what are we talking about? One of the shortlist vendors, and congratulations here, is ADP Workforce Management. What is setting, apart from fulfilling criteria, what's setting ADP Workforce Management apart from a capability perspective compared to the other products which are also on the shortlist, and everybody has their own differentiators. So first of all, it has a strong full capabilities in time and attendance as well as absence management. As I said, very critical to make it part of a working workforce management system, that the Lego, the input box are really working, and they do for the ADP solution here. You have to have good enough scheduling, and scheduling is super critical to make basically workforce management really work. You have to support your managers and schedulers well to make this a successful offering overall. All the other components can be great. If scheduling doesn't work well, then it's critical. And ADP does good to very good scheduling in what matters also very much, in a very modern, compelling user experience. And that is so important because people don't want to spend too much time figuring out how to schedule things. They want to be able to use things right away and actually successfully, from that perspective, reuse templates, find people who are the right people in an easy way or fashion. And ADP has done, like in general across the ADP solution, a very good job on the user experience for that, which differentiates it compared to the other members of the shortlist. ADP has very strong labor forecasting, which is not a surprise to a certain point, because labor statistics are very close to ADP. ADP is better at many governments at forecasting labor trends because they have so much payroll data, and the integration of the two are very, very strong in terms of the labor forecasting capabilities in the ADP Workforce Management product. And of course, table stake for ADP, nobody's surprised, but still worth mentioning, one of the best, if not the best, payroll integration from all the workforce management products. That sums it up from my perspective. What's also important is not to forget, it's not only about the technology, it's about the mix of people and technology. You have to get that right, select the right workforce management product, which we're helping you with the shortlist for workforce management. ADP is a very strong contender of that. Check out the overall shortlist to have a look. I mentioned the differentiators for you, but you also have to think about your people in this, so otherwise you won't be successful. This is Holger Müller from Constellation Research. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think about the shortlist? What do you think about ADP Workforce Management? Please don't be shy. Reach out to me. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.
Liz Miller, back again to talk more Constellation Shortlist. This one, I'm going to tell you right now, this has to be one of my favorite categories. Digital asset management for high volume commerce. And yes, one of the reasons why damn is one of my favorites, I get to say damn all the time and no one's going to scold me for cursing. Sorry, Mom. But for me as a marketer, especially as a marketer that was working in any type of commerce field, damn has always represented that last mile of technology that pulls everything together. It tends to be that intersection point of where all of your hard work and all of your planning for all of the assets, all of your creative, all of your documentation, all of your product renderings, everything that you've done goes someplace. It can't just be in a big bucket. DAM represents that place where all of your work meets all of that strategy and then can be easily deployed. The new, kind of what's different in DAM today is that it has to be used everywhere. It has to be used everywhere across the organization. And in high volume commerce, that means some really interesting parts of an organization that's perhaps doing product renderings, prototyping, 3D modeling. You're dealing with people who come from across the enterprise and are dealing with very, very different assets. And all of those assets have a place, but they also have to be able to move at a scale that is churning what feels like every single day. And that's what makes high volume commerce a really interesting place to specifically look at DAM solutions. And I got to tell you, there's like 50 to 60 that I look at every single year for this specific shortlist. And it is everything from just simple content storage all the way up to some of your most sophisticated and quite frankly, complex solutions that are needed in a commerce setting. So let's dive in. We're talking about scale. We're talking about usability. We're talking about integrations into tools that range from everything from your ERP, your supply chain, your warehouse management. You need to know every single thing that's going to be out there that needs to be cataloged that someone may need an asset to go with. But you also need speed and scale and flexibility. And that's why these solutions are really hard to list. And quite frankly, there's one brand I want to talk about, one vendor that for years had been kind of the mainstay on the list, but in recent years dropped just below that list that would appear on the short list, and that's OpenText. And it's not that they got bad. It's not that they were somehow not really worthy competition to all of these shortlist vendors. It's just a lot of new players that hit the market, and our executive network was really talking about those, implementing those, and really enjoying them. But the call to reassess OpenText and to really take a deep dive into some of the new innovations that have been placed in the solution really became very loud and clear from a couple of our clients that said, listen, not only have I stayed with OpenText, but I'm expanding what I'm doing with OpenText. So I want to dive into that and talk a little bit about that today. OpenText has been a mainstay, not only in content and content management, but also in asset management. There is a deep understanding as far as how to manage, maintain, and support asset delivery, as well as asset organization and asset management. And that's really important. But some of the things we really need to talk about when it comes to OpenText and some of the new, let's say new mindsets as an organization they have. The number one thing, integration. OpenText really understands that it is part of a much larger ecosystem, especially when it comes to its commerce clients. You are dealing with platforms and solutions that are not typically integrated and managed into, say, some of your other asset management or some of your other creative management solutions. This is a very different beast when it comes to commerce, and OpenText really understands that. But the number one thing, interestingly, that every person I talk to, every customer, and every end technology user that's using OpenText media management, it's got to be the integrations. It's probably the first thing everyone mentions to me, that everyone who is creating within the organization, they might be doing 3D modeling, they might be doing product prototyping, they might be doing your traditional asset creation and creative asset development. Everyone is able to utilize and integrate easily and quickly into OpenText. So you might be in Photoshop one moment, Illustrator in the next, you might be in PowerPoint, but you also might be in Premiere Pro. You also might be in Texture. You might be creating massive 3D models. You are still going to be able to integrate quickly, reliably, and have the uptime and the scalability that you need to be able to pull your assets into the central repository. And let's also point out something really important here. The second thing everyone brought up to me was one word: simplicity. There is a big difference between simplicity and simplistic. I bring it up a lot because it matters, right? You can't be simplistic in your tool. You can't just have a bucket, someplace you stick things when it comes to high volume commerce brands. There is a demand there. There is a demand for speed and for scale. And OpenText gets it right. With this all-inclusive subscription pricing, customers actually volunteered to me that there was never the sense they were going to get a gotcha invoice. We all know what we mean by that, right? That the layers on unexplainable costs, why do I all of a sudden only have to pay that? Yes, I know my storage got bigger, but the subscription pricing and the way that OpenText has structured a lot of their pricing and their availability makes sense to not only the CFO, but also to the Chief Digital Officer, to the Chief Marketing Officer, to everyone involved in this new CX and this new asset ecosystem. Everyone understands what the expectation is, and everyone understands where that invoice is going to be. And that is wildly important, especially when commerce can change on a dime. The other thing that's a differentiator, at least in my own analysis, is a lot of the AI models that are used here. I think a lot of times, especially in modern conversations when we talk about DAM, we really quickly get into a conversation around generative AI and asset manipulation, right? And yes, DAMs have to have that. You have to be able to personalize. You have to be able to use the right image for the right situation, for the right implementation. But you also have to be able to have standard data. You also have to be able to translate. You have to be able to have data standardization that is not just normalized, but it's also harmonized across all of your metadata, across all of the categorization. And if you're in high volume commerce, you know just how much that takes, right? Again, with Media Manager, you can extend a lot of these media support. And it's this idea of this limitless media support that's so important, that you can really extend well beyond, say, marketing assets or your product and your commerce assets. You're looking, again, prototypes, 3D models, complex video, documentation. It allows you to think about your content and your assets differently. Do we really need multiple locations where we're putting all of this? Or can we start to harmonize this so that the data that we're pulling into our system starts to grow and build, and in true AI fashion, starts to actually make things like tagging, things like categorization, that much smarter and that much easier? Because at the end of the day, we still have to think about DAM as being that last mile to experience delivery. Whoever is having the experience, our shopper, our retailer, our partner, our market, people internal to the organization. It's supposed to be easy to use. And I think somewhere along the line, especially for a lot of DAM solutions, we lost that idea and we lost that understanding. But OpenText has done a really nice job of bringing all of that back and bringing in innovations and solutions that feel purpose-built for the setting that we're in. Because at the end of the day, we're really here to create profitable relationships with our customers. And a lot of times, in a lot of experiences, we have to do that through assets. We have to do that through what they see, what they hear, what they experience, what they're searching for. Does it make sense? These AI models and all of these tools and the intention behind these actions from OpenText make me understand that, yeah, they get it. They absolutely get it. But there's something else I want to bring up about OpenText that I think is really important, and it certainly weighed very heavily when I started looking at this shortlist. It's the strategy for the rest of the company. In recent years, OpenText has put in a lot of investment into really becoming a security company. And for those of you who have heard me get on my soapbox before, y'all know I really love security. But it's super important when it comes to commerce and assets. When it comes to a DAM, you don't want something that's just rule-based, role-based. Oh, sure, people can't get in it. You want an organization that, to its core, fundamentally understands, respects, and implements security. Security measures that allow access, that allow that identity of the user who can get into the system, but also who understands what's getting into your system. So the fact that there are native integrations across OpenText's platform and its portfolio is really important. And it's really important for someone who is looking at a DAM solution to look at security as a massive measure of what's important to bring into your organization. So with that, hey, congratulations to OpenText. Back on the shortlist, certainly back on that literal short list of solutions that here at Constellation, we recommend that executives start to look at to make that buying decision around solutions and complex solutions like DAM for high volume commerce just a little bit easier.
Okay, Holger, I think that's a wrap. I think that's a wrap for, it might even be a record. Are we going to do a wrap and a record for the longest episode of CRTV because you and I decided to talk about Oracle, SAP, and Google all in one breath? Might be there. It might be there. We'll see what happens. Listen, check out episode 89 is going to come up next. We're going to do rumor has it, there's going to be some filming at Dreamforce. So, that's going to be in the news. But the amazing new co-host duo of Larry Dignan and Martin Schneider, of course, are going to be together and talking about all the amazing things that are happening in technology. But on behalf of my cousin from a completely disconnected family tree, Holger Mueller, and myself, be sure to subscribe to our Constellation, our YouTube channel. You can check us out on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it today. I'm Liz. That's Holger. We're out of here. See you later, guys.
You have new glasses, Liz?
These are the same glasses, but I do have a different background. How is it that you don't make I'm in a different place.
Yeah, well, I have a different background too, so that's nothing special. We both are traveling. We knew that before.
Yeah. Nope, same glasses, computer glasses, same ones. Yeah. Regular glasses, computer
Only
glasses.
one pair of glasses with my 90s prescription, right? So that was the revelation. All my glasses breaking, and then I have to put on my 90s prescription. I can see all of a sudden again everything.
Oh no.
So it revs your shot. This is shot first.
This is not new.
This is college, Holger. This is
okay.
college.
I didn't go to college here. So
okay, because here's the trick. This is what you teach everybody, Holger. Are we ready? It's liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, never sicker.
Okay. Well, you're holding on to this. I won't start drinking, but you never hold on.
But you don't drink. You don't drink. I don't need to look over you and warn you about
it's
that.
Still a nice rhyme.
I gotta look over.
Liquor before beer.
You're in the clear.
In the clear.
Beer before liquor, never sicker.
Ah, interesting. In German, it's Wein auf Bier, das rate ich dir. Bier auf Wein, das lasse sein. So.
I don't know what you said.
Wine on beer is recommended. Beer on wine, don't do it.
So yeah, I think it's considering like wine essentially as a liquor.
I think I'm well on my way to going to bed at 9 p.m. and never drinking.
Oh yeah, it's joyous. I'm telling you, getting the whole blood sugar under control. I sleep like harder and longer. It's crazy. I don't constantly feel like I need to go find a fire hose to drink out of. Like I was a real carnivore for a real long. I mean, I was like full Atkins. Like I was full like in keto every day. Eat a steak wrapped in bacon for like years. And so I thought I was gonna miss red meat. No, not really. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. Now I don't have to cook it. Sweet shit. That's not a problem. Scott went off the red meat.
Meat's expensive. Meat's expensive. That's the main reason I don't buy really a lot of meat.
Hell's bells, yeah. Meat's expensive, and it's funny because like even like people use like beef broth, and I'm like, what's that taste? What's that taste that I taste in this food that you made? And they're like, oh well, I soaked these in beef broth, and I'm like,
why did you do that?
Like that tastes really friggin' weird.
Why
like,
did
could
you
you
do
not? Like, could you? Yeah, how about you not? Someone cooked apples with beef broth, and I was like, what the Sam hell madness were you? That tastes like garbage. But yeah. Can you completely leave the stream and log back in, Holger?
Sure. Hasta la vista, babies.
So weird. So
the fact you said babies just made it sound...
Yeah, it's creepy. It just made it creepy.
Sorry, it's grammatically correct, right?
What should I say? Second challenge is creepy. You started with weight. The word baby. What is happening in... there we go. What is happening in technology today? I don't even know. I don't even know what's in the news. Can Hannah GPT please save Holger's subtitle?
That's the question if AI can do it or not. Ooh, doo-doo. Where's the Jeopardy music? Oh, wow. And look at this. Oh, it's human. It's human.
Oh, no. Typo.
It's human.
You're supposed to have a line in between. There you go, Hannah. Hannah did it all for you.
Yeah. And I have capitalization in my Twitter handle and you don't.
No, I don't, because I don't have capitalization in my Twitter handle.
Of course, everybody can have it when you write it. Come on.
No.
Yeah.
Because then all of a sudden people read it as Liz Killer. I'm like,
Liz Killer Miller. Liz Killer Miller.
I don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing that my Twitter handle is like Liz Killer. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, because someone's actually written that to me, like, Dear Liz Killer, and I'm like, okay, Hannah, you want us just to pretend that we're doing like a 2-second out before you come back in and say, what the fuck, guys? That was 15 minutes.
It was funny. I thought we were wrapping up, and then you're like,
then we just kept going.
Your story.
Yep.
You know, when the FCC comes after us for going over our allotted time, then I'll worry about it.